on? There's a daughter wants to come in. Yes. Daughter doesn't want to come in. So that's Boomerang. And now let's talk about my journey. What have I learnt? What have I learnt being a YouTuber? So this is my channel. 514 subscribers, 70 videos. Now I can tell you straight off, there were a lot more than 70 videos. But I went through a purge a while ago. Wiped out everything to do with Hyperverse and all that nonsense. It's dead, done and dusted. But what I wanted to do was to just walk you through some of the things that I thought about when I was starting. And to do that, I'm just going to have a quick look at my early videos and work through to the present ones, just very briefly, and come up with kind of, this is almost a self-reflection exercise for me to remind myself, what was I thinking back then? What do I think now? What's changed? What have I learnt? What mistakes have I made? What mistakes do I continue to make? Because it's not like I'm anywhere near perfect at the moment. Got a long way to go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is probably one of the reasons why I continue to do this, because I just really enjoy the learning aspect. Every day you can experiment with so many things, you can get it wrong, and you don't die. You don't die. In fact, it's kind of a lovely, humbling experience. So let's quickly get into this. And I think we'll just start by going to manage videos, because this will take you behind the scenes. So if you have your own channel, thinking about starting your own channel, done a few videos, this is what you're going to see on the back end. So videos here are videos on demand. Now, what that basically means is that if you upload a video, it will be called a video. But if you do a live, it'll actually be under a different tab. So that's an interesting thing that I learnt. And you can, once a live has finished, you can actually edit it. And the way I do it, possibly is another way, you just take like half a second out of that video and you can save as new, and it becomes a video, or video on demand, VOD. So that's a little learning. The other tab here is shorts. I've done a few shorts. My daughter's done a few shorts, you can see years ago. And the interesting thing with shorts, they're very easy to do, but they do need a bit of work. I think shorts do need a bit of work. And there's something that I would like to work on, particularly if you have a message. Now, I'm a person who stutters, and part of going live is that I came up with a phrase a little while ago for me, and that is, when you go live, there's nowhere to hide. So if I stutter, it's going to be there. And I wanted to show people who stutter that I'm not going to stick up videos that I've recorded, and maybe I had a stutter and I sliced it out and knitted it together, and this is like a highlights package rather than bloopers at all. And I thought, no, I'll go live. I'll go live. So if you want to tell a story, if you want to give a lot of tips or insights or anything like that, I think shorts are a great way to go. But I haven't really invested a lot of energy into it, because I'm still in the planning stage. And planning and preparation, if anything I've learnt in 2 years, planning and preparation, even if it's just 20 minutes before you hit go live or hit record, makes the world of difference. The world of difference. Anybody can hit go live and make it up as they go, which is a little bit like what I'm doing tonight. But sometimes you want to condense as much information into the time available as you can. Now, I can create a half-hour video, a 1 hour video. I think the other night there was a video that went for 1:55. It doesn't feel like that this end. It might that end, but this end, that only felt like maybe 40 minutes. I always get an itchy nose. People say that's nerves. It's not nerves. It's just bloody annoying. Anyway, so on here, yeah, videos, shorts, live, posts. I haven't used posts, playlists. I probably haven't got my head around playlists either, but you can do them, like, for example, on here, Crypto Stage of Critical Thinking, which was obviously a title that Danny dreamed. I don't particularly like it, but that's basically where a lot of the crypto videos go in there. Rob Woolley is anything about myself. Academy Antiques, I'm an antique dealer as well. That goes in here. Unleash Your Voice, Overcoming Stuttering. That's something about anything to do with stuttering. Creator Gear, music, Toastmasters. You can create a playlist on anything. And basically, I think it means that when one of your videos finishes, the next one on the playlist may come up. I don't understand all the variables around whether that always happens or sometimes happens or whatever, or whether a person has subscribed to you or not, whether that changes anything. Podcasts, I haven't done any. Promotions, I haven't done any. No, haven't done any because I'm not monetized. To get monetized, it's now 500 subscribers, but there's something else which I'm miles off of, and that is, what is that? It's 3,000 public watch hours in the last 365 days, which is, as you can see, I'm miles off, absolutely miles off. But one of the things there is that if I'm going to be doing a video every day, then hopefully I'll get up to that. Do I think I can get up to that? Yes, I do. Absolutely. Anyway, let's go into the dashboard. So you can see that you had that other heading along the top with the videos and so forth, but you got stuff down the bottom here. Dashboard, haven't had a look at the dashboard too much. I know that your latest video comes up here, your number of subscribers and various other things, but I think that's kind of like an overview. You go into content and this is where all your videos are, and it shows the video. There's a few things you can do down here for analytics and comments, etc., etc. And a lot of this would make a lot more sense if you had mega videos, like you're getting over 1,000 views, helps you to manage them. The one I did last night has had 96 views, but of course the one I did last night was also live right here. So it's had another 24 views there, 8 likes, 1 dislike. So, you know, that's fine. It's fine. People are giving feedback, and all feedback is good. The interesting thing is that with most of my other videos, I never get a dislike, but on some of the crypto ones, I do, and possibly for good reason. Analytics, we'll have a quick brief at that. As you can tell, over the last few days, my viewership has gone up quite a bit, which is good. And it was one of these was the highest I've had for a while. So that was 40 views of my videos in 1 hour. So the last couple of days has been pretty good, but it's not always like that. When I'm doing videos on stuttering, the views are very, very low. But when I was doing that about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, they were a lot higher. And I think it's because I was doing them more consistently. And if I do them more consistently again, then it takes a little while to gain momentum. But once you gain momentum, then the views come in and you end up with these things that kind of trend up. So that trending up there is mirrored with that trending up there. Well, it probably doesn't look like trending up, but anyway, it is. So let's go to content and let's scroll right down to the bottom. Where did I start from? What was I doing at the start? As I say, some of these videos, in fact, it's probably easier if I go just to my channel and have a look at videos here and go to oldest and start there. So this one here, I used to be in Toastmasters, and that was me competing in a national speech contest. I was disqualified in that one. That was 10 years ago. I went over time by a couple of seconds, I think. But Great thing is you got it recorded. You can go back and watch it at any time. I still quite like the moral that's in that speech. Did I learn anything? Well, I wasn't doing YouTubing back then, but I had the recording of the speech. This here is also 10 years ago when I was on TV, 2020 documentary. 2020 is like 60 minutes. You may have heard of that. That was our course. I used to run those in Auckland, used to be regional director for that program, and that was great exposure. As I say, I'm a person who stutters, and when I did my first course, it was the Maguire program in 2007. This is what I spoke like.
We're supposed to immigrant. I'm an immigrant to California from New York in the early 1960s. I had immersed myself in the personal growth movement that was flourishing on America's West Coast. I'd grown up with a very fuzzy image of myself and needed to change many.
So you can see I've come a long way. Or some people might think I was better back then because I didn't talk as much, but I actually did. I just, sometimes when I got put on the spot, that's how I used to talk. And my stutter is a blocking stutter. So when I block, nothing, well, when I was blocking, nothing would come out at all. That's another story. This here was also before I was doing YouTube. This is me doing a Pichacucha or Pichacha, depending on how you want to pronounce it. This is in front of about 250 people. But after doing that course in 2007, I did do a lot of public speaking. And it's almost like when I was doing public speaking, I was a different person. So you'll see in here, I was quite a different speaker. Just fast forward it.
You see, if someone rang us up and it was silent, they thought, oh, that's Rob. Rob's picked it up. So they'd talk, even though I couldn't. 1% of the world stutter, and they stutter about 1% of the time. But when you're a stutterer, notice the label there, stutterer, not person who stutters, you think you're stuttering 100% of the time, and you think that everybody notices. Even when you're fluent, you think you stuttered.
And you see, I still make mistakes by talking before and not unmuting because I haven't set this up right. So I mute my microphone when I'm playing a video, and that way the video sounds better. Otherwise it sounds echoey, but sometimes you forget. And this is all part of the learning. You're going to make mistakes. Yeah, I wish they didn't happen, but I think it's about developing a process. But people have got a life. I don't think there's too many people who are going to go into YouTube and they're going to do just YouTube. Maybe if you're a kid, but the whole thing is there is a process that you need to go through. Standard operating procedures, lists, checklists. Like, for example, when I come in here and I do a live, which is about the least effort of any YouTube video you could do, mostly, I have to come in here. I have to make sure that this microphone is on. I've got a roadcaster down here. So I have to make sure that the slider is up. I've got to turn that studio light on. I've got another light over there that just makes sure that the side of my face is just lit a little bit. As you can see, tonight, my green screen is playing up a little bit. Not too sure what's going up there, but you got to make sure that's tweaked right. You got to make sure the camera's on and streaming. Turn on your OBS software here. Make sure that your scenes are sorted. I didn't have those sorted at the start. What I was supposed to do was to start with this here, showing my flash new office, which of course isn't a flash new office. It's just a backdrop of, I think, New York City, which I thought looked quite cool. And I thought maybe if I have the light in the right place, it'll look like the sun that's reflecting on that building there is actually hitting that side of my face. Everything's in reverse here. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that you need to go through, but that's all the fun of it. But you do need to be organized. But this here, this Pecha Kucha, this here was one of the really nerve-wracking things. And whenever you're doing anything new, there's a time where you have a bit of a breakthrough, or when you have a breakthrough, you rise up various levels, and then you get pretty good, and then you kind of plateau. So this here was a next level up, because there's 250 people in that room. They weren't Toastmasters, they were normal people. So it was a normal audience, maybe a more judgmental audience. And this is quite a big event. This was recorded. This was the who's who of Christchurch were invited to this. And the stage was so far up, you could actually see all of the people that you're talking to. And about a week, 2 weeks after this, I had a heart attack. And when I look back and I listen to my voice, I just feel my voice isn't quite right. But the interesting thing is that this presentation that I did is also an interesting thing about presenting or doing anything where you're trying to record stuff, is that I had 3 to 4 months lead in. I knew that I was doing that. I put those slides together really quick, and then I couldn't bring myself to practice it because I thought I'd get bored of it, get stale, second guess it or whatever. So I basically went in there cold, and I thought I did okay, but I'd gone into a certain mode. Other people might not have noticed it, but there's sometimes you go into a mode that your nervous system puts you into. So I look back, I'm pretty happy with it, but could have been better with more preparation. So what else we got? What's the next one on here? I hate having to do that. It must be an easier way to go through these. Maybe I'll open up in a different tab. So I'll open a few of these up in separate tabs, and we'll just click up. Oh, all right. So this one here.
Opinionated enough, courageous enough, ignorant enough to speak their mind.
I look a lot younger back then. When was that? That was 2018. That was 6 years ago. So 6 years ago, I think my hair hadn't gone quite as grey as it is now. That was me just holding a mobile phone. And again, I'm not doing any YouTube back then, so I'm not thinking about it too much. And I think there was just one take. Knew what I wanted to say, said it, move on to the next thing. But I was doing a lot of public speaking back then, so that was fine. What's the next one? This one here is me. Again, haven't got into YouTube here, but these are just things that I've recorded over the years or had recorded over the years that are stuck on my YouTube because they mean something to me, or they're things that I don't want to lose. YouTube's a great cloud resource for storing videos on. And I was saying to someone the other day, you could probably put all of your photos into iMovie or something like that, record them all so that they each last for like 4 seconds. Be a great way to store all your photos. If you had a fire or whatever, you store them on the cloud, can't possibly lose them. But here I am in a district international speech final, which is basically half of our country in the final, and I placed second. Medical admin board. She was ranked number 4, she told me. And so when the CEO went on an extended cruise, that wasn't a concern until he said, "You're in charge while I'm gone." She said, "I took it. I ate the jet plane. I had been stressing out ever since." That was a little motto that I had a while ago. Eat your jet planes. Now, 2 years ago, we got into the proper YouTubing, as I say. And the interesting thing that you'll see on this video is that the studio setup, the camera, the microphone is completely different.
You can track really hard, and then there's a kind of like a freezing. We don't want that. We want so controlled contraction, relaxed exhalation.
Now, the interesting thing when I started YouTubing is that I wanted to have a great studio. I wanted to have the best studio that I could. And I'd been watching a lot of other YouTubers and get inspired with backdrops that are got shelves with artificial plants on, and they got their lighting right and all this kind of stuff. And lighting for me was a major issue. And I had a camera which was not unlike this. This here is a Canon 750D. I think the camera that I had was a 600D. Now, without getting too technical here, this lens, or the lens that was on the other camera, the biggest aperture you could get, lowest aperture, biggest, highest, not too sure, was 3.5. And it meant that you had to have a lot of lighting to get a good image. You'll see in here, I haven't got enough lighting, not for that lens. So it's a little bit darker, but I actually quite like the colors on this. And this here is a Canon, and a Canon out of the camera has different tones than a Sony, which is what you were looking at now. Sony is maybe, some people say it's a slight green tinge. Some people say it's just more true to life, but Canon is kind of more artistic. So when I look at this, I think, well, this is actually quite a nice image, could be enhanced a little bit. So there's a lot in it, but I was mucking around with so many things back then, and I had the same dark wall as I've got now, but it was just that I changed my lighting. The good thing that I like in here is how I've got the light on one side, kind of shade on the other, and yet there's enough light going at the back. So I've got a nice kind of outline to my head and shoulders. The sound, hear that sound though.
And pause out for the count of 5.
Really echoey. And back then I had a Shure mic, but it was the wrong type of mic. It was a condenser mic. It was down here, just out of shot. You can't see it. Actually, no, on that one, I had my very first mic, which is a lapel mic. But as I say, it's a condenser mic, so it picks up a lot of the echo around the room, whereas this here is a dynamic mic, totally changes the sound. So there's where I was about 2 years ago. Where did we go to from there? We went to my first attempt at vlogging. And show you a little bit about Christchurch. And go vlogging for the first time ever with my vlogging camera. Let's see how this goes. But there we go. That's Littleton Harbour in Christchurch. And over the other side is Christchurch City itself. So let's go. So one of the things that you'll instantly notice when you go live, there's no editing. Well, there can be editing, but basically there's no editing. In this, obviously, there's editing. So there was an edit of me taking the shot inside the car, getting out of the car. There's a kind of, what do they call it, an establishing shot when you have a look at the Littleton Harbour there, setting the scene of where you are. And then I'm talking about vlogging. This is actually quite good color. I'm actually quite surprised. So this is on I think this is either a ZV-1, Sony ZV-1, or a Sony ZV-E10, which is what I've got now. Up the track, as you can see behind me, and
I'll tell you a little bit about my learnings over the year with the stutter.
And you can see that one of the advantages, although some people told me that they didn't like it, not on this video, but generally, is that you can put a little bit of music, a little bit of background music, and it's kind of like creates a nice wall of sound for you, like Phil Spector created in the 1960s with the music. But that little bit of music in the background just kind of rounds things off.
So one of the things that's blowing pretty hard here is, and we can change it. We're not going to change it if we don't think about it. You're getting more control. But just like everything else we've got in our lives, beside the fact that we've got to stutter. Have a great International Stuttering Awareness Day. Where are you going to plant that tree? Bye for now.
So I obviously had a lot of fun doing that one. As I say, that was my first vlogging one. There's that edited shot of the two kids that were riding their mountain bikes, just slowed down. You can have a lot of fun. And this is one of the things that I realized when I got into basic editing. This is all just using one camera. I think one camera, although on some of these videos I use an iPhone as well, and just using iMovie. One of the good things about iMovie, it's very simple to use. I find it a great editing tool. I've got Final Cut Pro. I've hardly ever used it because it's so complicated. But one day I'd like to go through and create tutorials of Final Cut Pro. But like anything, am I ever going to get the time? But you can see I've tried vlogging, and I can do it. I can edit. I use iMovie, and the sound was okay. And one of the things that I realized is that if you've got good sound, it means that people will forgive average kind of grainy, jumpy video. If you've got fantastic video and crap sound, they'll probably turn it off. How do I know this? Because this is what I do. When I realized I was watching other people's YouTube things, I was thinking, well, what do I like? What do I do? How do I view what they're doing? And therefore I can take the best bits and learn from their mistakes, because everybody makes mistakes, or at least mistakes according to us, because it's very subjective. So what else there? So that was that one. And then we got into more stutter tips.
Time I refer to my speech, I'm going to make it positive. Now that doesn't mean lying. It could well be. Sometimes when I speak, I stutter on my name.
So here I've changed the background again. I've changed it to a different corner in the room. I painted that wall. I painted that wall because anybody who's got into cinematography will understand that there's that teal, I don't know if it's teal orange thing or teal skin tone thing. And I thought, well, what if you painted the wall teal? Would that kind of work? What do you think? But the interesting thing is, I would say I've changed from my Canon camera here, because you can see this is a fundamentally different color that's coming out of the camera than we had back here. Right, compare. Oh, that's not it. Oh, where is it? That we had coming out of this camera here.
Is that you can contract really hard and then
compared to that. And you'll see there's a kind of a smoothness to that image. Some people call that a softness, which on a photo is not a good thing, but on video
is kind of like a freezing.
Can be kind of cinematography look, that smooth look that you see in movies or on TV. As opposed to this is quite a bit sharper. So I'll probably change the camera. And here the audio, it's a little bit muffled and echoey.
Sometimes when I speak, I stutter when talking to such and such.
So everything you try, you're going to learn something. But if you don't try, you're not going to learn anything. This one here, I can remember this one. I learned quite a bit out of this one.
Hey, everybody.
Now, you'll see that the lighting is a lot harsher on this. I'm obviously experimenting, trying to get that look that I had in the first one, but maybe this is a brighter look. It's probably a brighter look because the lens that I've got is able to go lower than 3.5. Because if you go lower than 3.5 down to the lens I've got at the moment is 1.4, then it'll allow more light in, will get rid of the graininess, have a sharper, crisper image, and generally be lighter. But I may have enhanced it. I'm just not too sure. But this here was about table topics. And if this is the one I think, this is where I realized that editing can kill you.
How do you answer a table topic and answer it really well? I've got a few tips for you. Once you've heard the question, you're up on the stage, what are you going to do? I suggest you go with the first thought that pops into your head. And there's a really good reason for that.
Yeah, this video, I had a lot of fun with. I really liked it and I really hated it at the same time. This video is 2 minutes 59. This video was 20 minutes. And what I decided to do was just stick the camera up there and just talk. And I knew that I was making a lot of mistakes. I knew that I was doing some fumbles in my words, or I was going off on tangents. And I thought, oh, that's okay. I'll just keep talking and I'll edit it at the end. I'll cut out the fat. And what transpired was about a 5-hour edit to a 20-minute recording. No, I'm not exaggerating. But so that's the downside. On the outside, there's some things that I learned in here that I really, really liked. And just that other bit with the music at the start, that was an intro that I recorded. So I used to record that and slice that into the video. I don't use that anymore, but I'm actually thinking, not a bad idea. Maybe I might go back to it.
Yeah, you're trying to find what is the best way to answer this question, or what is the best way to answer it out of the possibilities that I've come up with. Just start talking. That's right. Don't delay. Just go with the first thought that pops in your head when you hear that question. That's my advice. There's a few reasons for this, because one, you have absolute clarity of where you're going. You've given yourself a direction. You don't have to mentally sift through all of the possibilities that you could come up with. Analysis paralysis gets in the way of many people who could otherwise be really good at table topic. They spend too much time coming up with what is the perfect response, and then they're second guessing themselves even when they're delivering it. So you get filler words.
So you can see the jump cuts, and some of those work, but one of the things that somebody said is, oh, how many cameras did you use? Well, that is just one camera sat there, but you can flip the image. You can put a filter over it. You can zoom it in, zoom it back. You can do a whole lot of things. So it actually looks that there's a lot going on rather than having just one static camera and one static image, which is what you've got when you do live like this. So just have some fun. But editing can kill you, because where do you end? So it was really fascinating when I listened to Casey Neistat. If you haven't heard of Casey Neistat, video, search him. Neistat is spelled Neistat. That's Neistat. He's fantastic. He's a vlogger. And somebody said, when you do a video, how much material do you record and how much do you end up using? Like, for example, I did a 20-minute video and I got 3 minutes out of it. And he basically said something like, if he's doing a 10-minute video, he'll only record 15 minutes of material, because he knows in his head what he wants each shot to look like. Now, I think he's a genius. I think he's able to do stuff that we probably either can't do or we'd have to really think about it. But he probably thought about it too. So, want to be a good YouTuber? How much thinking time are you going to put into it? How much time are you going to devote? So, what have I learned so far? Well, there's some really good stuff that you can get through editing. You can add a little bit of humor with editing, as you've seen. Well, I think you can. And you can also play around with the lighting. The sound on this is quite good. I quite like the sound on this.
Come up and all manner of things. And no, just start strong and keep going. What does it look like when someone delays? Some people can get away with it, but for a lot of people, it looks like, well, you don't actually know the answer.
I quite like that sound. And this is one of the things, is that sometimes you'll like the sound and sometimes you won't like the sound. And sound, you can muck around. It's a lot like editing because you can play around with graphic equalizers, how close the microphone is, how far the microphone is, what's in your room. Like, for example, this is basically an empty room, but this is a great microphone for isolating my voice. Whereas if I had it a long way away or even turned it around, it'll sound something like this, which is completely different and probably is picking up the sound bouncing off of a wall. I don't know what that sounds like, but I'm assuming it wasn't as good as this. Oh, on with the show. And next one. Oh, now I was actually watching this the other day, and this is an interesting example, this video actually. So I'm going to open it up and just show you something here, if I can. And before we go into this, I'm going to show you the analytics. So this video started off really crap. In fact, it went quite well in the first day, maybe, but then look at that, flatlined, completely died. So after what? After 159 days, it said 97 views after 159 days. And this is what they call evergreen content. So if I do a video about what Weird Satoshi said in a meeting on February the 13th, by February the 16th, it's dead, pretty much. No one really cares because I've had 2 or 3 meetings since then and probably repeated the same thing and moved on, changed their mind, whatever. Evergreen content, this one here, I'm basically saying how you can take a mic stand and turn it into a camera stand so that you can get a top-down shot, which is something that people might want to do when I made it, a year later, 2, 5 years later. So as you can see, some evergreen content just seems to take off sometimes. So after 159 days at 97, it got to double that. Well, less than 159 days later. And of course, then it got to here, and the steepest curve is actually after 1 year and 70 days. So this is where part of me thinks I should be creating evergreen content, how-to videos, general, words of wisdom videos or whatever, that it won't really matter whether it's a year old, 10 years old. People are still maybe going to get value out of it. I think I've got a cat trying to get into my room. I hope it's a cat, otherwise it's a rat. So that's that. But let's go and have a look at the actual video. You do this either way. You can either thread the camera onto here, or you can take this off. Grab the camera. That camera, by the way, and that lens is what I've used to this day. So this is, how long ago is this? Yeah, so for about the last year and a half or so. So this is a ZV-E10 Sony. Absolutely love it. I think it's very simple to use. It's a studio camera. I wouldn't want to carry it around. It sucks to hold in your hand. It's just a terrible shape. And that lens is a Sigma f1.4 16 mil, which all of the people said is a great studio lens, and I totally think it is. It's got a very sharp image, particularly at 4K. Apparently, the HD recording on the ZV-E10 isn't as sharp, but I've never actually put them side by side. I will tell you one thing that I've noticed with lives compared to recording, and that is if you do a live, the resolution, I like, it's supposed to be HD, but it looks more like 720p or even worse sometimes. But when you do 4K out of that camera, it is sharp as a tack, completely different. And maybe there's a better way to set up my OBS. And if there is, then I'm going to learn that at some stage. But this here, I've used a filter, and I just took heaps of shots. I think I filmed this mostly on, I don't know what I filmed this on, actually. It could have been my iPhone. So it's actually a pretty good image on my iPhone, I think. But there's some interesting shots in here and playing around and a lot of editing. Screw it in. The other thing is that this moves around. So you at the back of the desk firmly. And then all you need to do is to lower the arm in and you're good to go. And it off, allow it to cut your second camera angle maybe. So doing videos like that is kind of like art. I find it really rewarding. You muck around with filters, background sound, the angle of the shots, the camera that you use, the mics that you use. There are probably two different mics that I was using there, and you can see the change of the sound. And yeah, it's really good. It just depends what you want to do. Videos like that can take quite a while. You can't really be doing too much else while you're thinking about them. Can't just turn up. They do need a little bit of planning, but they're a lot of fun to do. And, you know, they get a reasonable number of views. Like they've got 25 likes. So people got some value out of it. 549 views, 9 comments. And, you know, people got some value, and I learned some things as well, because those top-down shots, particularly if you're looking at a product, are fantastic, particularly if you have a top-down and a front one at the same time. Those shirts were certainly yeah, mate. They might be making a comeback too soon, JB Coda. So this one here, this is my, well, I was going to say my best ever video. This is my most successful video. And just have a look at the analytics on this one as well. So this is at 6,500 views. And when it started, it was okay. But sometimes the algorithm just gives these things a shot in the arm. And you can see this just shot straight out there. Look at the angle of that, and then it kind of plateaued for a while and didn't do too much, and steadily went up, and it's been kept on going up ever since. So evergreen content. The thing I like about this video is that I had a problem on my website, a really ugly one, and you can see it on the shot. That stuff at the top, couldn't get rid of it. It's some error that showed up, and sometimes it's about giving value to people and helping other people out who are in the same situation as you. You've run into a problem. It took me a good 2 solid days hunting around Google to find out how to fix this. Really frustrated the hell out of me. but I found 4 lines of code that you could stick in somewhere like this, and you're able to get rid of it. It didn't totally solve the problem to a technical person's point of view, but basically, for all intents and purposes, I got rid of that ugly script that was showing on my website. This is pretty heavily edited, although this was very simple to make. And it said 6.6 thousand views. It's had 151 likes. That's what I'm really quite proud about this. And I don't think, yeah, like this was edited, but I think I probably produced this from start to finish in 20 minutes. So, you know, if you're doing that every 20 minutes, you'd certainly get a fair number of subscribers and a fair number of views. Oh, where are we? Oh, where we go? I'm completely lost here. Hold on, we'll just go back to my channel. I'll get organized again. All right, videos, oldest. All right, where are we at to? So then we move on to, and I'll just quickly go through these. All right, so this one here, I went and bought a trackpad. So I went and bought a trackpad. Always wanted a trackpad, got it for a few seconds. I thought, oh no, this is so wrong. And I ended up taking it back the same day. And I did a video about it because it bloody hurt my hand. And I thought, but when I use a trackpad on a Mac, it's perfectly fine. How is this any different? I just don't know, but it is. And I think you may rest your palm somewhere when you're using a trackpad on a laptop, but not the trackpad. Danny loves the trackpad, but I hate it. On here, love the color. That's the top down. That's me using my top down setup that I used in the created in the other video. So you can see, you know, you can make things that are actually usable. So this one has had 1,100 views. Ergo failure. Love the color on this. It's very crisp. That's the difference in 4K. Don't know if you can see that on your screens at home, but you can see 4K down here. Just, you know, with the analytics on this one, I think this started off pretty slow as well. Yeah, it started off really slow, but it's had a couple of spikes. What does that? Who knows? But again, evergreen content, 1,100 views, quite happy with that. Won't make sure I make the same mistakes last time. So this one here is my second most popular video. Again, evergreen content. And I did have quite a lot of fun doing this. This used to drive me nuts. And when I was trying to do this video, it drove me nuts as well. Boom. And I don't know what happened, and I can't seem to replicate it. Well, finally, today I found the answer. So stay tuned for a quick and easy solution.
So I could be having a look at a website like YouTube, Googling maybe Magic Mouse Review, and then suddenly, boom. So I might be having a look at a web page, and before I know it, so I might be browsing a website, let's say Magic Mouse Review, and suddenly it zoomed out. Oh my God.
So that was me trying to replicate it. All those little slice and dice shots are out of order that they actually happened. But it would normally just expand the page, and then sometimes it would shrink the page, and then sometimes wouldn't do anything at all. Or it was just bizarre. It was just all over the place. So as I say, sometimes it's art, and you just think, hey, let's have a laugh, and let's put all of the outtakes in there, and just have some fun with it. And the good thing is I can look back on that now, and it still gives me humor to watch that. But when I watch that, I think, wow, did I actually do that? Because it seems like so long ago now, and your whole brain's moved. And I think it's quite fun to go back, which is why I'm doing this video, and have a look and see, well, how did I used to think back then? what did I used to do back then? And just having a look at the analytics on this, I think this one started off really slow. Look at that. now, if anybody doesn't want to give up, that's the classic. So that took, just trying to work out how to read that. That took 81 days to get 125 views. So check that out. And the first 26 days, it only had 32 views. And then it just ramped up there and then plateaued again. Like, look at that. It's at 1207. 1207 there, 189. 189. It's gone over 30 days without one view, and then now it gets steady views all the time. It's just really bizarre. The algorithm is bizarre, and that's the number of views that it's had in the last 48 hours. So that had that video had 6 views in 1 hour just today. So that, yeah, it's pretty random. But evergreen content, it's always got the opportunity to ramp up, to get hooked into the algorithm in a way. This one here, the studio tour. So these are quite good to do because it gives you an insight.
I think it really depends on your voice and how you're going to use it. So that's coming from the Rode Pod mic. And just to show the variation, I'll go from the pod mic to the shotgun mic on the camera over there. Hello. And this one here will be the internal microphone of an iPhone 13. So you'll be able to get to see what the difference is between the pod mic, the shotgun mic, and the internal iPhone mic. So you're just changing, you're basically recording all of those things. And I'll tell you briefly about one of the things that scared the hell out of me when I was watching other people do it. And that is that you always thought that you wanted some device that would go straight into the recording camera so that it could record the video and the audio at the same time so that you didn't have to marry them up later on. That's wrong. That's wrong, because if you have your camera recording internal audio, which is average, can be okay on some cameras, and particularly for outside, it's not too bad, but it'll create a kind of a signature waveform. And when you maybe record on this and record it separately, which you could be doing it on Audacity, all you have to do is to grab this waveform and slide it over, right, to match. And when they align, you know that the sound is going to align with your mouth, and when you clap and all this kind of stuff. So it is a lot better to do proper sound recording and add it later in post, as they say. And in there, you'll see that I've recorded from 3 devices and just kind of had them all lined up, and then just slice. So just came from the iPhone, just came from the other mic that I had, and just came from the Rode Pod mic or whatever it was. So I've changed mics quite a few things over the times, but you can see this is a wide angle lens, and just having some fun, kind of like moving around. But I can go back and see what I was doing back then. I don't have that desk anymore, and I've changed. I don't have those drawers anymore. Having all those books on that shelf actually improved the sound in that room quite a lot. So it's interesting what you learn, but it's all a bit of fun recording these. And, if they're recorded, they're there. You don't have to watch them, but if they're recorded, they're there. This one here, I did about a year ago, and this was for my friend's business. He always had trouble about how people would
put their fly screens together, and it was very difficult to explain. So this is the ideal. We just had 2 cameras out there. We had one static camera, which was a top-down camera again. So I've used that again. And we had another camera, which I think was the iPhone. You're just moving it around, and then you're just actually marrying up the videos to tell the story, moving from one angle to the next. It's not that hard to do, as long as you get your sound mixed up. But actually this one I voiced over, so you'll see it didn't matter about the sound at all. You will want to place the wire clip corners on the strip which goes over the window opening handle. Ensure the short end strips go right into the corners. Now, the reason that sounds different is that I left something out and I had to stick it back in, and I didn't get the sound exactly the same. Insert ends and check middle measurement to ensure frame hasn't become too narrow. So that video's had 569 views, and it'd be interesting looking at these analytics because his business has done pretty well. Wow, look at that. So yeah, it was a real boost about, not too sure, 100 days ago, which is actually in line with a big boost in sales that he had. So everybody who purchases one of his fly screens gets a link to that video. Obviously, they don't all watch it, but some do. And you'll see that quite a few people have watched that in the last 48 hours as well. It's just about creating useful content for people. That's what I find. So this here, as you see, there's a whole lot of videos that were in the middle there that I just deleted. That was all Hyperverse, Hypernation, stuff like that. I didn't really want it on my channel anymore. So this here is about CoffeeZilla. I found all the information, and let's have a look at some graphs. Okay. So this interestingly is where I don't agree with CoffeeZilla. Oh, hello, Crypto G. Great to have you in the house. But hey, if you got an idea, if you thought you saw something, why not create a video and just throw it out there so people can make their own mind up? So I've gone on CoinGecko.com because they have graphs, and you can go all the way back beyond 2021, which is when this started. So let's bring up this chart. And what I want to do, I brought up a chart of May the 14th to April the 13th. So there's basically 1 month, which is about 16 days prior to the podcast. And its peak as we go along here seems to be just about there. And that is 0.013 cent at this here, because these are the trading volumes, and you'll see that in my other life, I'm a trainer, a corporate trainer, and learning to be able to do voiceovers, to do close-ups, to zoom in on what you want people to focus on. This here I found quite educational for me to learn. And it's one of those skills that you can take out into the real world as well. And it's also a challenge to think, I know what I'm thinking in my head, but can I illustrate that on a video so that you think the same in your head? This here is basically where I disagree with CoffeeZilla, as in we're looking at the same data, but we're coming out with totally different conclusions. And as I say, it doesn't mean that I'm right, but sometimes if you have an idea, just throw it out there, because then you can look at all the comments, if there are any comments, and actually see whether or not you were right or not. So, yeah, it's all a bit of fun. What was the next one? Then I got into antiques. The antiques are so simple to make, these ones. Marks are quite hard to see, but they are there. in this video, just so that you know, all I did is that if I'm going to list anything online, I have a little studio out there that I put the item in and I go stamp, 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 as many photos that I need for each of the collectors, get the information that they're going to need to make a purchasing decision. And I was really lazy here, and I just stuck all of the videos. I think there's all of the photos. There's like 4 photos, I think, for each product, just on the timeline in iMovie, and just did a voiceover. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I think on WMF, you'll see something like an Islay show mark or an ostrich mark or something like that. Learn that not anywhere near, and of course, many collectors want the original box with them too. The next item is I've got to think what these are called, a metronome, used for getting your timing correct. So sometimes you want to do a video, can't think of anything. They're easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The only thing I had to do, as I say, stick them over, put the Ken Burns effect on each of the photos so that you got that movement going on, so it's not a static shot. A little bit more interesting if it's moving, and just do a voiceover, save it, upload, Bob's your uncle, so to speak. 60 days is that that the bridge has been shut, Crypto G. So that's the antiques ones. They're pretty good for 100 odd views. I would have thought they ever gained content and they might have kept going up, but whoops. But as you see, they probably haven't. Just having a look at this. Yeah, like got the majority of its views then, and then just tails off. Judging from those other videos, they may get picked up again. If you're a collector, I think there'd be a little bit of value in there, but you know, maybe the format could change, because one of the things I was thinking with those antique videos is that maybe I could say, hey, tonight I'm going to be talking about 6 things, have a photo of the 6 things, then talk about one of them at a time, and then say at the end of the video, I'll be revealing how much each of them are worth, so that people wait and watch until the end of the video. Who knows, you know, but this is the whole thing. It's all about being creative, having some fun, try new things, and just seeing what works. That's the advantage with most things, social media. Here's another antiques one, which I would have done a different format. Backdrop, something about the coloring on this, quite unusual. So this sold for about 90 odd bucks last night. As you can see, well used, well worn, almost a military look. If you look carefully, you see that the photos on these change a lot faster, and I haven't put the Ken Burns effect on them. So I'm not too sure why I thought that was a good idea, but obviously did at the time. And I think they're changing faster, and I'm talking faster. There's something about, I was reading early on, because for me, I want to talk pretty slow and stay in technique on some of my videos, particularly if I'm working on my speech. But actually I heard that if you don't talk at a reasonable rate on YouTube, that it has been proven that people will turn off if you're not above a certain speech rate. So I sometimes, depending on what mood I'm in, I'll speak a little bit faster. But as I say, it's all experimenting. Now we're getting into where I decided that I'm going to do a video every day. And I was away on holiday when I started this. So some of this is pretty hard and some of it's pretty rough. But I was actually getting my head around and quite enjoyed it. A video every day for 2024. So this is my first video. This is really makeshift because I'm in Tauranga at my father's house. Thing I find quite interesting about this shot is that this is actually my father's house, and it looks like a green screen. But I just wanted to say that I've started planning, and this is going to be one of the things that I want to do. I'm not going to be doing any videos on cryptocurrency or anything like that from now on, just in case you subscribe to me. Yeah, I think most of my subs came from crypto videos. And I really do want to stop doing crypto videos as well, but people seem to like watching them. I don't know why. Channel because of that. But what I am going to do is that I've been planning my whole life, or started planning, and it's been really, really hard. So there's so many aspects. There's health, fitness, business, personal, learning, mental. And I've got some notes there as well. And I've tried to use notes when I can, because in the heat of the moment, whether you're live or even if you're not live, it's very easy to forget some of the key things that you want to talk about. So just having a notepad down there where you can jot down your key points and just have a look, you're allowed to do it. Because at the end of the day, why do a video and miss out the big points? Who wins then? You know, if you got a notepad over there and you just go have a look over there conspicuously or inconspicuously, you're delivering value, the value that you wouldn't have got any other way. So that's when I started doing the videos each day. And hi, everybody. So I'm back with another unplanned video. And the reason it's unplanned is that today was basically a family day. Went out to the beach, met up with my brother and my sister-in-law and the kid. The sound, haven't even hit the sound, so we've recorded video. All that was done is off of a... I always get a little bit lost here. Where am I going? Yeah, oh, good grief. Yeah, so, yeah, they're all pretty raw, but hey, you know, if you're making content, you're making content. I actually quite like this one here. This is me walking up Mount Maunganui. Again, quite heavily edited, but it was just me going for a walk every now and again, hitting a record on the iPhone, every couple, 3 times going up there, just stopping and making a comment when I thought of something, but just tells a story. It's only 1:56, and I really like that. It's one of my favorite videos. I was completely bloody exhausted walking out there, but it'll be so great in a year or two, you know, like to remember what I did when I was in Mount Maunganui in Christmas, New Year 2024. Just experiment, as you see. And the good thing, I can create that because of the editing skills that I learned earlier on. So a few of these are just pretty raw ones as well. There's a few ideas that I've had that I just decided to put into words. The views are very low, but that's okay because it was for me. It was for me. And sometimes these will ramp up again as well. You know, like you don't know. They may end up with a couple of 100 views in like a year from now. You just don't know. But then you can have some fun as well, like what happened in here. Just put a start somewhere. This is basically unset up. But let's see if we can add in a little bit of better sound by hitting click on that. And let's see if we can turn on a light. Ta-da! Let's see if we can turn on another light. Ta-da! And now we've got something slightly different, but stay tuned. Turn off the overhead light. Now we're back in focus. And you'll see that's using the studio. and that's using 4K and how it's completely different to live. And I think even the audio suffers a little bit on live as well. But I was watching some really good YouTubers the other day who were going live. Video looked shit hot. Audio sounded top notch. So maybe it can be done, but maybe it needs really expensive software. I'm not too sure. So we're almost at the end of this, and it's been a great opportunity to go back and have a look, see what's come on. This one here, I missed a day and it pissed me off. So I wasn't going to miss the next day.
I'm really pretty anal if I set a goal that I stick to it and I don't ever bend, because if you bend once, you find that it's very easy to bend twice and 3 times and 4 times. And that used to be my belief, basically still is my belief. But a while ago when I was running courses, people who stutter, met up with this great guy, Colin Cox. He's no longer with us. And
So this is an example of having gone through trying to create the perfect studio to get the perfect camera with the perfect lens, with the perfect lights, with the perfect audio, with the perfect topic, the perfect title, and the perfect video for your current audience or your ideal audience. Or you can just walk into a gym and pull an iPhone out and hit record and go, hi, here I am, and go live just like that. Looks okay, sounds okay. I'm quite happy with the message there. I'm probably going to look back in that in a couple of weeks and remind myself what I'm trying to do. Just in case you're wondering, what I'm trying to do is create a video every day to force myself to become a better YouTuber and keep on track of getting better and better and better, making my boat go faster every single day. And this is how you do it. The best practice for running is running. The best practice for YouTube is YouTubing. Simple as that. Whether you go live, where there's nowhere to hide, or whether you hit record and you do editing, no one is better than the other. But I'm just saying is that if you have a message to get out there and you're not too sure how to do it and you're procrastinating all the time and you're overthinking it, just bloody hit record. And this video just shows it. So I'm quite happy with that video. I'm glad it exists. And what else we got? Getting very close. Oh, and this here is a classic story for me. And that is that I did that course in 2007 to overcome my stutter. And my stutter basically has been good since then, but it had a big dip leading up to maybe a month and a half ago when I started working on my speech again, and my speech has got a lot stronger, which I'm grateful for, but it has required a bit of work, and I'm fine putting that work in. I'm really happy that I put that work in. But one of the things was, in this video, if you're a little bit confused about how to start or you're procrastinating, just go and watch this video, because I realized that I wanted to tell my story about stuttering, but I wanted to do it perfect, and I wanted to get it all in line and in order and structured and not miss anything out. Oh, it's bullshit. Just go and tell your story, because what I'm thinking now is that whenever I come up with an idea, and hopefully I've got my phone here, whenever I come up with an idea, I'm driving along, I just have my phone here and say, hey Siri, take a note.
What do you want it to say?
Look at that, right on cue. Nothing, thank you. So I just do that, and I can write down a note, recording. I can do it anytime, day or night, driving, walking, working, whatever it is, in any order as it pops into my head, and then I can go do a video on it. And what I'm thinking is that these videos, when I get to the end of my stutter story, when I've exhausted all of my ideas, all of my tips, all of my thoughts, I can actually go back through all of my YouTube channel and say, here's the brain dump. Here's all of the material that I want for that great video, for that 2-hour movie that I'm going to create, or for that 4-day course that I want to create. All the materials there. It's there. It's documented. It's out of my head and it's onto YouTube where it needs to be in order for me to use it, rather than just pissing around thinking. You can't edit an idea, but you can edit, or you can collate stuff that's actually down. It's been recorded. It's on a note. It's somewhere. It's out of here. So I'm really happy that I've done some of these videos because they've moved me forward. They've moved me forward. I've introduced my idea of Stutter Zen, 8 basic mindset goals that I've had from this to this. You need a compelling reason. Why do I stutter? All my thoughts about that. So all these are done. And then somewhere around here, I did one for my TV because I bought a new TV and that had a problem. And then somewhere around here, I got lazy. And that's when I came up with this one, because Sam Lee got charged. And I thought, well, good investors with promises of daily. I would have thought I thought you can't really not do this. So crypto, king of crypto, whatever it was. And what a spectacular fall from grace. So the interesting thing about Sam Lee is that he's been involved in so many adventures, could we say. And if you haven't heard about Sam Lee, you don't know. And of course, after all of those very low viewer numbers of my starter videos, because I haven't been found yet, then you end up with this one, which has been my most popular one recently. And you'll see it's had, 801 views in just over 20 days. In the last 48 hours, it's had a few as well. So people are still viewing it. There's probably going to reach over 1,000. So what does that mean? Well, it's just a good buzz every now and again, but it's also an example of, you can do what I'm doing with my stutter ones and try to create an audience or find an audience or something like that. Or you can come up with current ideas that already have an audience and just tap into it. And an interesting thing, I think, is that since I've tapped into Sam Lee, good investors, promises of, sorry, Sam, and just started talking about Boomerang and stuff like that, and going live, because a lot of these have been lives, and of course there was a fire that we had recently, is that you are just starting to gain some momentum. And I think when Boomerang gets released in March, which is the current thing that I've been talking about for the last few weeks, just because I find it really fascinating and intriguing to see what happens with it all, that when that gets released and it's either going to fly or die, then basically that's all over and done with, So then you have a look for the next one. So what have I learned? Well, just to summarize, the ZV-E10 is a very good camera if that's the type you want. If you want a slightly different color tone, go with a Canon. And I think a 750D, or, there's a lot more advanced cameras than that. But you don't need a really expensive one. But if you do pay out for a good lens, I think the Sigma 16mm 1.4 is fantastic. Does everything that I want. As for microphones, I splashed out and bought a Shure SM7B. Do you need this? Not at all. Not at all. I think I was doing quite well with my Rode pod mic. I don't think it's got a great all-round sound, but it was okay for my voice and probably okay for most voices. But hey, as long as you're using some mic that's not the internal mic of a camera, you're fine. But the internal mic of a camera or an iPhone seems to be fantastic outside, particularly outside, because it seems to pick up sound without any echo. Sounds good. Sounds good. I don't think you'd have any issues at all. But if you want to get flash, SM7B's been pretty good to me. And because I'm a cheapskate, even though these cost a fair bit of money, if you ever get rid of it, I think you get most of your money back. So what's it really cost you? I've got a Rode podcast mic here that really works as a preamp, but I've never used half of it. Don't know how half of it works. So that's complete overkill. But yeah, the whole thing is that they say the best camera is the one you've got on you. As simple as that. But I've really enjoyed not pissing around too much with trying to get things right lately. I've been more intent on just getting the content out there and telling my story. So what I want to focus on going forward is focusing on formulating what I'm going to say, focusing on being more fluent when I'm talking, keeping that wall of sound going, removing my filler words, making sure that I know my content inside and outside, and just keep on talking. I have that certainty, that conviction that I know what I want to say and how I'm going to say it. I'm not using part of my brain power to conjure up what the next sentence is. If you haven't got any of that, you can use a teleprompter, which I have used on some of my videos. The Des View one seems to work perfectly fine. The remote is really weird and sometimes jumps on you, so that's not flash. But when you get your head around that, or if you just stick your iPhone underneath it and press play and go from start to finish, it's fantastic. And when you just put in that little bit of prep to get your script down and stick it on a teleprompter and just go from start to finish, everything's so much more fluent. And your brain is just rattling off those words. You can operate your OBS if that's what you want to do, or there's no editing. So, yeah. So thanks for listening to this completely self-indulgent video that had the bit about We Were All Satoshi at the start, bit about Boomerang at the start. But basically, just do something every day. That would be my advice, even if it's a short or something, because then you'll just calm down. Whatever you do every day, you get better at it. The best exercise for YouTubing is YouTubing. So until next time, thanks for joining us in the chat, guys. And happy investing, happy YouTubing. Hope you got some tips out of here. Took me a long, long time to get where I am today, watching so many YouTubers who gave me so much advice. And the only thing that I did find generally is that some YouTubers know too much and they forget the people who start like me right at the bottom. Bye for now.